Right then, hello and welcome back once again to the channel. I am here with another shoe review. It's a Saucony box and it's a really cool looking Saucony box, but what is inside the Saucony box? Well, here we have the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2. Let's get into it. Now then, this is a one that I am really excited about because the Saucony Endorphin Speed 1, which came out a little over a year ago, very quickly became my favourite shoe of 2020. It appeared out of nowhere. Saucony hadn't really been on my radar before then, but all of a sudden I saw a pair of the Mutant colourway. Here is one that used to be Mutant and is now covered in mud, but I saw the design. I absolutely loved the 80s vibes. I think it looked really, really cool. I picked up a pair and about 3 kilometers into my very first run, I said, I think I'm in love. It's a shoe that just did it all for me last year. I was doing a half marathon challenge last year where I was raising funds and awareness for the campaign against living miserably in memory of one of my close friends. And a lot of those half marathons were covered off in this particular pair. It was great whether I was running fast, whether I was running slow. I would often do intervals and that sort of thing, a bit of speed work in these, and they really were just an awesome shoe that I was so fond of. Now obviously this pair didn't really last the winter all that well, so earlier this year I picked up a pair of the Endorphin Speed in, again, another really cool colourway. That was around about the time that I became injured, so I haven't actually put that many miles into this particular pair. So regardless of that, awesome shoe. What I'm now excited to try is the Endorphin Speed 2. Now in terms of the differences between the Speed 1 and the Speed 2, the main difference is it's got a slightly snugger heel fit, a little bit of a change there. The upper has been amended slightly, it's got a more breathable mesh pattern. But aside from that, the midsole, the nylon plates and all that sort of stuff remains the same, which is great because it performed really well in my opinion in the first iteration. So as always, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover off the look and feel of the shoe, I'm going to cover off the first feel on the feet, and then I'm going to cover off the first run. There are many other technical YouTube reviews out there which cover off heel drop, stack height, all that sort of stuff. I'm more interested in look and feel and performance because those are the things that are most important to me. Now the first thing I'm going to cover off is the look and feel. Now the box first and foremost is pretty awesome with this checkered flag. Now when you open it, you're greeted with this really cool design. This has polarized opinion a little bit. You either really love it or you don't love it all that much. I think it's really awesome. I think it's really outstanding. It's a little bit of a different vibe to the original Mutant colorway, which I loved so well, but I do still think it really stands out. It's quite a bold looking shoe and it's instantly recognizable. It's got the checkered flag running kind of through the middle of the upper there. When you compare that to the Endorphin Pro 2, which has got the checkered flag kind of running across the entire of the upper. So very similar looking shoes, albeit slightly different. So yeah, the upper looks really cool. I'll just get rid of this. So it's quite a flexible upper. It's a thicker material than the upper on the Endorphin Pro 2. This is sort of their mid-tier shoe. So the Endorphin series consists of the Endorphin Shift, which is kind of your regular daily use, high mileage, comfortable, that sort of thing. You've got the Endorphin Speed, which is sort of that mid-level. This has got a nylon plate. The Shift doesn't have a plate. This gives you just that little bit of extra energy return. And then you've got the Endorphin Pro, which is their racing shoe to compete with the likes of the Vaporfly Next Percent when you're lining up on a start line. This is a really good training partner to the Endorphin Pro as a race shoe. So yes, with that you've got a bit of cushioning around the ankle, around the heel, a bit more comfort, a bit more luxury, a bit more plush, albeit not a massive amount really. So the upper, yes, slightly thicker and firmer than the racing shoe. You've got a nice heel counter around the back here, lots of heel structure and stability there. You've got cushioning around the collar of the ankle and around where the Achilles is. The tongue is gusseted and attached inside, so no slipping and sliding and that kind of thing. The laces, traditional lacing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyelets, and then a double eyelet at the top. Now, as always, double eyelet for me means runner's knot. I'll put a link to the runner's knot instructional video up on the screen, somewhere around about here. But that is a really great way to get a nice, secure, locked-in fit in your running shoes without over-tightening and causing pressure issues across the front of your foot here. It stops you from getting slipping and slidage around about your ankle just by giving you a nice, secure fit. So definitely worth checking that out if you haven't done so already. It will change your life. The laces themselves are anti-slip laces, which means they're a little bit rugged, so when they're tied together, they're not going to slip loose when you're in the middle of a run. You've got an ever so slight heel pull tab thing here, which just looks a bit flimsy. I think we could just get rid of that. I'm moving on to the midsole. So it's a Power Run PB midsole, which is a nice, soft, springy foam. It's really responsive, it's really light, and it's really comfortable underfoot as well. Running throughout this midsole, you've got a full-length nylon plate, which is nice and bendy, but it does give you a nice amount of energy return as you transition using this speed roll technology, which just sort of, as you land and move towards the front of your foot, that speed roll is carrying you into the next step, combined with that little bit of energy return from the nylon plate. It's just a nice partnership which feels really great during the run. You've got this XT900 outsole, which is a combination of yellow with a bit of blue down the middle there, a little bit of exposed midsole there, but the high abrasion areas are reinforced. The rubber itself, it's fairly thin, but it's hard wearing, so no real issues there. The rubber's got a nice bit of traction and it's nice and durable as well. Okay, so next thing is to slip them on my feet and see how they feel. Right, and so that slipped out without too much of an issue. I've already stuck the runner's knot in there. But what I find is that the laces are really short. So when you apply the runner's knot, that uses up a fair amount of lace. And there's not much left over to be able to actually tie a knot. So it's a really small knot. Hopefully that just holds. But the runner's knot, yes, just cinch your foot down, tie the knot, and you're ready to go. So just stepping into them, and it's a really familiar feeling from all of those miles that I put into the Endorphin Speed 1 throughout 2020. I'm familiar with that midsole underfoot, that feel of the Power Run PB as you kind of just moving it around in it. There's nothing really noticeably different in terms of the upper just by standing here, but you've got a nice amount of structure around the rear. My foot is feeling nice and secure and soft and held in place. The nylon plate isn't immediately obvious. I can't sort of feel it just by walking around inside here, but it does give you that bit of energy return. I know that again because of all the miles I put into the shoe throughout the course of last year. The midsole has got a little bit of cushion as well, a little bit of bounce. Sizing wise, I've gone for a UK 13, which is what I would tend to go to in the majority of my running shoes. So I've got a nice thumbnails width around the front of the shoe. It's a fairly wide upper. I've got quite wide, quite flat feet. There's a little bit of excess material there just to allow my feet to expand, which they tend to swell when I'm doing longer miles. So that's ideal for me. But overall, everything just feels nice and comfortable. Again, a familiar feel that I look forward to taking out. Which brings me on to the next step. So the next thing for me to do is to lay them out with the rest of my kit and take them for a run tomorrow. So we will pick it up then.
Right then, let's do this. We're off. Right, so here we are at 2 kilometers. And those first 2 kilometers are very familiar feeling kilometers from all of the miles that I put into the Endorphin Speed 1 during last year. I'm familiar with that feeling underfoot, that midsole, that outsole, and it's a familiar feeling that I'm very fond of as well. I love the Power Run PB midsole. It's firm, but it's fair. You're getting enough feeling from the ground to feel in tune with the surface that you're running on, but you're getting enough energy return and cushioning just to take the edge off. Combining that with the nylon plate, it's a lovely ride. It feels nice and firm, but it's a really great ride. Now, I mentioned in the intro, the only real change that's been applied to the shoe between the first and second versions are changes to the upper. And to me, actually, I can't feel anything during the run that's all that noticeable. But if you haven't tried the Endorphin Speed one, what that means is I'm getting a nice, comfortable ride. I'm not feeling restricted in any way. I'm feeling structure around the foot. I'm feeling nice and well held in place. There's a little bit of cushioning around sort of the ankle and the heel, which I'm conscious of, not in a bad way. I can just feel my ankle being held in place. So it's a comfortable ride, a nice amount of flex in the upper, but not too much. It's just a really great ride. So I just ran my 3rd kilometre in 4 minutes and 30. So I'm running slightly ahead of easy day pace, and that's where this shoe sort of fits in. It's best placed, not for an easy day. It's a little bit firm, a little bit too quick for that, but not for all out race day either. I think the combination of the slightly firmer midsole, that full length nylon plate, it's ideally placed middle of the pack, sort of speed, interval sessions, that kind of thing, and that's where it fits into my rotation. It's one that I'm going to be using for days when I'm shifting pace, shifting through the gears, and it's sort of responsive at a variety of paces. Not too fast, not too slow. It's really just a great all-rounder. It's really wet out here today. Just before I left the house, a rainstorm finished up. It's been off and on raining all morning. Hopefully I managed to squeeze in between showers before the next one, but what it means is the surface of the road is really damp. There are puddles all over the place. I'm avoiding them since I'm wearing white shoes, but in terms of the actual surface, it's predominantly tarmac. There are a few sort of stony bits, a little bit gravelly on the paths, but I'm not having any traction issues so far. Headed on a slight incline for this first 3.5–4 kilometres. I haven't had to take on any tight turns just yet. Here's one coming up. Yeah, and no issues there, albeit I'm not running very fast. So traction wise, I'm not having any issues. So all good there. Right, here we go. Kilometre 5. I'm just going to lift the pace a little bit. I'm not going to do a full kilometre. I'm in the middle of a half marathon training program at the moment, so today was supposed to be an easy run, but I maybe do 500 meters or so, just lifting up towards race pace, 3:30. And the shoes, you can tell they're not necessarily a race shoe. I am picking up the pace quite nicely, but I'm working a little bit harder than I have done in the Pro 2, for example. Right, let's pick it up in a few hundred meters. So there we go, just a touch over 500 meters, and I went all the way up to 3 minutes and 20 a kilometre, which, yes, I got there, but I was working to stay there. I wasn't quite getting thrown forward like I do in some of the carbon fibre plated shoes. So yeah, not one that I'd opt for on a fast race day, but a great one for shorter bursts of intervals, shorter bursts of speed, the shoe living up to its name for that. And that's about it for now. So I'm going to do is put the camera away, settle in. I've got about 2.5 kilometres left to go of the run, so we'll pick it up for a summary at the finish. Okay then, here we are, coming in for the finish, and that is that then. A little shorter than normal, just 8 kilometres this morning, 8.08 to be precise, and that's because I've got a meeting to get back for in about 20 minutes. So yes, anyway, overall, I think I've said it throughout, this was one of my favourite shoes, or the first iteration was my favourite shoe of 2020. Really familiar feel coming back to me there, running in the Speed version 2. It's a shoe that you just feel as though you are running with great form. So I was just really concentrating as I was coming up the final stretch there, the final kilometre or so, really concentrating on how the shoe was feeling and how it was making me feel. And when I was visualising the way that I was running in my mind, I just felt as though I had some really great posture, really great foot turnover, really great transition from strike to toe off. And that speed roll technology, it just seems to roll you forward into the next stride. It's a really great feeling, and yeah, it just makes you feel as though you are running with perfect form. So a great experience to run in. Overall, fantastic shoe, a great one to have in the rotation if you're looking for something that can do a little bit of everything, a little bit of fast, a little bit of slow, a little bit of something in the middle. Then the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2 is the shoe for you, or the Speed 1 for that matter. I haven't noticed a huge improvement, a huge change, but there wasn't a great deal, in my opinion, that they could have improved upon anyway. So yes, anyway, thank you very much once again for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all of that great stuff. Share this video with all of your friends, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Yo!